The San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station in the state of nuclear power in America. If you've ever driven between San Diego and LA, you've undoubtedly come across the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station, or SONGS for short. You'd know it if you saw it. Its most striking feature is its twin flesh-colored domes topped with protruding light fixtures, drawing an obvious comparison that me and my boyhood friends found absolutely hilarious every time we passed it. But it wasn't just us. The same plant made an appearance in the popular comedy Naked Gun for its inappropriate potential. What you may not have known, however, is that this nuclear plant was officially closed in 2013 and is currently in the process of being torn apart. As a proponent of nuclear power myself, I resolved to find out more about songs in the hope that its story would shed more light on the nuclear power industry in America and its potential going forward in our collective battle against climate change. On June 1st, 1967, Unit 1 of the plant began operation. In the first 15 years of its activation, the station experienced two major malfunctions. The first, in 1973, was a non-nuclear mechanical failure, which necessitated a 13-week shutdown to repair. Then in 1980, routine maintenance identified corrosion and subsequent leakage from a number of heat exchange tubes, which exposed workers to radiation. From February 1982 to November 1984, Unit 1 was closed for repairs, as well as the addition of safety features such as those meant to combat seismic force. Despite these setbacks, Unit 2 and 3 were approved for commission and began operation in 1983 and 1984 respectively. Unfortunately for the plant, however, the California Coastal Commission found evidence songs caused serious damage to nearby marine life and was forced to compensate with the funding of a pricey environmental project. To make matters worse, in 1992, Unit 1 shut down permanently due to financial strain. Then in 2009, while Unit 2 was taken offline for scheduled maintenance, reports began to surface which accused the song's management of staff misconduct and falsified record-keeping. Several former employees sued the plant's ownership over the alleged silencing of potentially dangerous safety oversight. 2012 spelled the informal end of the plant when the small radiation leakage was discovered in Unit 3 during scheduled maintenance. As costs soared, federal regulators dragged their feet regarding a potential restart, leading to the plant's majority owner, Southern California Edison, announcing on June 7, 2013, the official closure of SONGS. To this day, the station is undergoing costly deconstruction and lengthy legal battles to decide how and where to dispose of the nearly 3.6 million pounds of radioactive waste stored on site. When I set out on this project, I wanted to learn if nuclear power had a future in America by studying the history of the San Onofre plant. Well, clearly SONGS has no one to blame but itself. From mechanical failures to terrible management, environmental damage, and costly repairs, the plant was hemorrhaging money for decades. I'm shocked it lasted as long as it did. But I study nuclear power for fun. I know the technology has gotten vastly more efficient, safe, and inexpensive since 1967. So what I want to do for the rest of this presentation is see what we can learn from the example of San Onofre going forward. Let's just assume nuclear power is completely safe and viable today. What other factors led to the downfall of San Onofre, and what, if anything, can we do to overcome said factors in the future? The first factor, which ruined San Onofre, was poor management. Although SONGS is jointly owned by three entities, it is the majority owner, Southern California Edison, at 80%, which controlled most of the day-to-day operations, must therefore take the lion's share of the blame for its implosion. I included a table, which I am using to illustrate through color coordination what I perceive as the examples of unconscious incompetence and those which much have been conscious. First is the lack of profitability the plant has dealt with constantly, which led to the permanent shutdown of Unit 1 in 1992. It was never based on a solid economic foundation. Second, there have been at least 3 instances the plant has been shut down for mechanical malfunction, leading to major breaches of safety. And we know these were dangerous because of the documented damage SONGS has done to local marine life. At this point, I believe Southern California Edison realized its own incompetence, making the continued existence of the station an extremely irresponsible choice. After the first 2 mechanical failings in 1973 and 1980, reports started to surface of lapses in safety protocol and the subsequent attempts of silencing those employees who spoke out against them, leading to a bevy of lawsuits settled outside court. And finally, in the wake of their last blunder in 2012, Southern California Edison failed to assume responsibility for their own failings, instead opting to blame a manufacturer. Despite their claims' plausibility, a competent nuclear owner should place the onus upon themselves, especially when their failings have put thousands of lives in danger. Lastly, the company has exhibited no plan or leadership concerning the disposal of the radioactive waste stored at Songs. SCE is currently trying to shirk responsibility for it in court. A second, albeit related, reason San Onofre fell was due to their trust in bad and/or shady manufacturing companies. Edison had a reason to blame their 2012 accident on the manufacturer, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. In March 2017, a court arbitration panel ordered Mitsubishi to compensate SCE $125 million for selling the energy company faulty steam generators. According to SCE, the generators upon purchase already had extensive signs of wear and tear for supposedly brand new tech. With this in mind, I would not be surprised if Mitsubishi had a hand in past failures. It should also be pointed out that the design and engineering of Songs was done in large part with coordination with the Bechtel Corporation, a multinational engineering firm. According to CorpWatch.org, a reputable business watchdog, Bechtel Corp has a rich history of abuses ranging from government corruption, active participation in the military-industrial complex, international resource predation, tax fraud, and most relevant, designing nuclear reactors which cause extensive environmental harm. There's currently no evidence condemning the corporation concerning the design of Songs, but I mention it as an example of blatant irresponsibility on the part of Edison to work with Bechtel in the first place. Despite these gross examples of corporate hubris, I believe the most salient factor leading to the downfall of Songs is the general fear Americans have of a nuclear power in the wake of past accidents. You can see this effect in the patterns of protest waged against Songs throughout the years. In its history, the station has faced 4 major protest campaigns. The first occurred when it opened in the 1960s, but they were extremely small and civil. And then the next 3 coincided with major international nuclear accidents. 3 Mile Island in 1979, Chernobyl in 1986, and Fukushima in 2011. These protests became gradually longer and more animated after each event to the point where protesters crafted signs warning Songs against becoming the next 3 Mile, then Chernobyl, then Fukushima. And it's not just the public. You see this lingering and escalating fear in the media. Even today, people live in the shadow of past disasters. In 2018, the LA Times published an article called "The San Onofre Nuclear Plant is a Fukushima Waiting to Happen." And then the very next year came out with another article entitled "A Chernobyl Echo at San Onofre." Clearly America, and I'd say the whole world, is still reeling from the major international nuclear disasters of the past few decades. Can we overcome our nuclear fear? I think we need a few things. 1. Examples of long-running, competently managed, model nuclear generating stations, much unlike San Onofre, to give local residents hope that they can and should be run with care and respect. We need nuclear stations to adopt a mindset of public service and take responsibility for any damages they cause, and to get the public on their side. 3. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission must increase its standards for station ownership. Songs should not have been able to continue for as long as it did, neglecting safety protocols and falsifying documents. No one ever said nuclear power was easy. It should only be tapped into by responsible companies with an honest desire to serve the public and not just make a quick buck. Climate change is an existential problem with no easy answers. We're quickly running out of time to reduce our carbon emissions, and right now, nuclear power is one of our best options. Hopefully, if we can learn from the mistakes made by the San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station, we can re-establish nuclear power as a bulwark against the climate crisis alongside our limited renewable options. If we do that, Songs may not turn out to be a total waste of time and money after all.